Any of the companies that sold rings. Bad idea. Because I got the ring, I thought it was beautiful. I still think it's beautiful, objectively speaking. But I thought it was beautiful, and then that night after he proposed, I was looking at it, and there's a big, huge black spot in my center stone. And I was like, I don't know if I'm imagining this, or maybe it's supposed to look like that. And then I showed my mom used to work at a very cheap jeweler.
Cheap fine jewelry, yeah.
They never had something that bad in their stones. And so we had to go back right after I got engaged to ask them about it. And they were like, "Oh yeah, that's just the birthmark of the diamond, and
I
just natural carbon." And I was like, yeah,
so
well, I don't like it."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then eventually it wasn't a huge hassle. The manager was there and said, "Yeah, I guess we can order in the same ring and see if the stone in that one," because the ring I got was sized, because we picked it out together, and he sized, I mean, it was my size when we got it, so they had to send in another ring to see if we liked the stone in that one better, and then we would have to switch it. So I had the ring for the next week, and then we went back in to see the new ring, and it had a much better diamond in it. So I was like, okay, phew, that's done. We got it switched, but every time, we got it from K Jewelers. Bad idea. But every time you go into K, you have to give them your ring, and they have to send it somewhere else to get fixed, because they don't have any on-site stuff. And so...
The Burnsville one has the on-site. That's where we got it.
Really? Well, the one we did didn't have it. And so we sent it in. It was gone for 2 weeks. It came back just fine around Thanksgiving. And so I had it, but when I looked at it, there was like a pit in the side of the ring, and I was like, well, for Pete's sake, I just got engaged. I'm not going to go back and get it fixed now. I'll get it fixed later when I get it soldered, because it won't be that long, and my warranty will still be there. And so, fast forward to the end of February. I have to go on choir tour at the very end of March. And I want to have my engagement ring by then. But after we get back, we have to send in our ring every 6 months for inspection to make sure that it's okay. And the 6 months were going to be up during my choir tour. And so we just decided to do it a month early and get it soldered and stuff, so just in case anything went wrong, I would have it and stuff. And well, it's a good thing we did that, because we sent it in the end of February. It came back a week later. We had to get it. We wanted it soldered. We wanted the pit fixed in the side. We wanted engraved. And then he went back by himself to go pick it up, because I was somewhere else. And it was the worst soldering job you could possibly imagine. Oh my goodness, it was so bad. It was crooked. It didn't even fit the ring right.
I mean, there's only one way to fit it. I mean,
It didn't even look like what was on the website.
Yeah. One spot, and then you solder that. But you don't turn it so it doesn't fit. So there's holes when you look around the ring, and only solder 1 or 2 spots. And you say, yeah, this looks good.
And it didn't even look like, because it's like an offset band, and it didn't even fit in right. Like, it didn't even look like the picture in the magazine. And so we had to send it back.
No, it wasn't even that though. It's like they took care of the pit by just what looked like
sanding
just
it out
into the side of the diamond. So there's just this one little dip in the ring.
It was really bad. And so, no, actually, then we were like, well, I don't want to take it back now, because they'll probably just screw it up more, and I'm going to have to wait 2 weeks to know that they just screwed it up. And so I talked to a guy that I knew used to be in jewelry, and he said, well, K Jewelers is part of this overarching Sterling Jewelers company. And they own like Jared and Goodman Jewelers and stuff and all this. And he says all K's send to a bigger Jared store that have, because all Jareds have on-site repair. And so the K's that don't have on-site repair send it to a Jared to get fixed anyway. So my warranty should cover, he says, your warranty covers being sent to any Sterling store. So I could go to a Jared and have them fix it much faster and get it back much faster than sending it to a K. And it would be on-site. So we were like, okay, fine, we'll do that. So we go to the nearest Jared. He went there by himself because I was gone again. And I had a list of things, like, this needs to be fixed the right way. And so he went in to get it fixed and stuff, and they're like, yeah, it's going to take 3 days because we have to fix the pit that was supposed to have been fixed already. And so then I went in to get it that day, and I looked at it, and it looked fine, but the engraving that we had just paid to put on there was gone. And I understand that maybe having to unsolder and resolder it probably would involve not having the engraving there anymore, but they didn't even put it back. And so it was gone, and so I had to leave it there because the person that did their engraving wasn't there that day. And so I had to leave it there again, and I don't have a car. And he's at school all the time. So it takes a lot of work for me to actually be able to find a vehicle to go somewhere to go pick it up. So I couldn't even pick it up when it was ready the next time. Like, I had to wait a couple more days. And then he had to go get it. And he looked at it, and the engraving is supposed to say Buddy number 1. Like the number sign, because it's an inside joke or something with us. And that's what it said, that's what we paid for it to say. And he went to go pick it up, and they didn't have the number sign in their engraving machine. So instead of telling us that, they decided to go ahead and put NO.1. And so instead of doing what we asked them to do, which was there when we came there in the first place, they went ahead and did something that they thought would be acceptable. And you know what? It might not seem like a huge deal, but his ring is already engraved with Buddy number 2 with the number sign. And so now they don't match. And I paid for it to be that way. And so
You should have just went to things to remember and done everything there.
Oh, no, see, and then we don't even, and then so he sits there arguing forever, like, you need to fix this because you wrecked it in the first place.
They were very hesitant to help us
And
out.
so then finally they come up with, well, we have a bigger Jared across the metro or wherever, somewhere, Maple, somewhere. And we can send it there and it'll be done. And by this time, it's a week before I'm leaving for choir tour. It's been like almost a month that this has been going on. And, right, exactly. And so, and I'm going halfway across the country for choir tour. I want to have my ring. And they're like, okay, well, we'll send it with a manager to take it to the district or whatever to get it done. It'll be done by Monday. So I went to go pick it up. Everything seemed fine. The engraving was right. I was happy. Later that night, I looked at my ring again, and I didn't notice this before, but the shank at the bottom was like paper thin. Like I had worn it for years, and I've been engaged. Next weekend I'll be engaged for 6 months, and for almost a month of that time I haven't even had my ring, so it shouldn't look that thin. And then there's supposed to be like a mill-grain like design around the side diamonds, and that was like half rubbed off. And I was like, awesome, great, something else is wrong. It's like, exactly. So, right, I posted a complaint on Jared's Facebook wall, and somebody called Stefan and said, look, we're going to try and be your intercessor to help you fix this problem. And, but it was right before I was leaving for choir tour, and so he's like, we can't do anything about this till she gets back. So then I got back last weekend, and he called on Thursday to tell her that we were going to go in on Friday night to tell them, look, this is the problem, this was not the way it was when we brought it in, and it needs to be fixed. Because this lady in customer service for Sterling Jewelers that we talked to said that she talked to the Jared there and told them the problem and that we needed it fixed. So, and she told us who to talk to, the assistant manager or something. And so we got in there, and I don't want to be in the store. Like, I don't want to be there at all. And so we find the assistant manager, and Stefan asks her how much she knows about our situation. And she doesn't even know who we are or anything about our ring. She's never seen us, never heard about us, or any sort of problem that's ever happened.
Never even heard the person who contacted this Jared.
Are you serious?
So that starts off on a good foot, and so then we had to sit there and explain to her the entire story of everything that we've done, and the only thing that she remembers is that she was the one who took my ring to get it engraved at the other place. She never opened the box or anything, she just was informed that she had to take it. And so that's the only part of my story she knew. And then she was like, well, and she looked, she just barely took a passing glance at my ring, and she's like, oh yeah, it's just tapered at the bottom, all our rings are like that. And I was like, no, it's not. It wasn't like that when I brought it here. And then she basically made us feel like morons and was like, yeah, well, it wouldn't have happened during engraving, so we couldn't have done it. And she like wouldn't even look at the ring. It was like we were lying to her. And then she was like, well, why don't you just write down your name, and I'll go call the customer service people, and we'll see what's going on here. And the other thing she said was like, well, I mean, we can keep trying to fix it, but there comes the point where it's not our ring. You didn't buy it here. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, oh my goodness, you can't even stand behind your own crappy work. and oh my goodness, she was such a jerk. And she went
If it's
back.
not their ring, they never would have fixed it in the first place for free.
Yeah.
Right. So she takes like 10 minutes in her little office trying to call or whatever. Then she has to come back and ask Stefan to respell his last name because she can't read it or whatever. And so then she leaves again for 10 minutes. And I'm sitting here, I'm so mad. I'm at the counter of this jewelry store crying, and Stefan's trying to make sure that I don't break down in the middle of this place. And I like every single person that walks into the store, I just want to yell at them to leave, run screaming, please.
Don't come here.
Don't come back. And I was so mad. And then she came back and she was still same condescending attitude, like not believing us, but she's like, well, I can go see what the jeweler can do. And so she goes back to the little jeweler guy and comes back to us and says, he had made a mark on the shank and said, this is as thick as I can make it. We'll rebuild the shank, but now we have to get it re-engraved again because we're doing shank work on it. And this isn't, I didn't even tell her about the mill grain thing that had been totally destroyed basically. And so then she's like, and I just talked to customer service, and this is the last time we'll be doing any work for you because this wasn't bought here, so we just refuse to do any more work after this one, or we'll have to charge you. And I didn't even bother saying anything because that was the most bogus thing I've ever heard. She's the only person who I've ever talked to in this jewelry industry who's ever suggested that it's wrong for me to bring it there. Because if my warranty didn't cover any of the stuff that you've done to it already, then you wouldn't have done it. Like, you can't, and you're acting like I'm being unreasonable when actually you've just totally wrecked my ring every time I bring it in. And it's, which is, I was so angry. But at that point I was just like, I just want my ring to be fixed so I can wear it on my wedding day. And then that's all I want. I wasn't going to argue about it because heck if I ever want to bring it back there anyway. And so she was just a complete jerk, most unpleasant lady I've ever talked to. Like every single other person in that store is nicer than she is.
So she was the assistant manager.
She's the assistant manager. And so she has it, and she wrote down what we needed, and we're apparently supposed to pick it up next week. And my parents are going to come with us this time. And
you might want to bring a lawyer.
Yeah,
no
kidding.
Seriously, no, it's gotten to the point where I don't even care if they perfectly fix my ring brand new. I am going to
I would take that stuff. Brand new ring. Yep. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even care anymore.
A little late now.
Your ring won't last more than 5 years if they don't, and to solder more into it.
Yeah.
They're gonna crack and.
Yeah.
I'll be telling every customer that walks through that door if it's not perfect when you go in there.
So basically, what you're thinking of just trading it in?
Basically, whenever I get it back, I either gonna, if it's not right when I pick it up again, then I'm gonna fight hard for a total refund. And
Well, I think the Attorney General would be happy to hear this.
Either a total refund or like send me a new
Deal
ring.
with this.
And even if they send me a brand new ring that's absolutely perfect, I want to trade it into another jewelry store and get a different ring, so I never have to walk into that store again.
What?
Hi.
You have any
Have you met my fiancé?
What's your name?
Exactly. Every 6 months.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
not
you got a
worth it.
reasonable one.
What kind of expectation do you expect me to have? Even if I'm just bringing it in for an inspection or cleaning, what expectation do you have me? Like somehow you will find some way to destroy my ring because you've done it every time for the most simple tasks. Like how hard can it be? I mean, I know I couldn't do it, but how hard can it be to just solder a ring the way it was made to be soldered?
Wow.
Yeah.
You should have just done that.
Congratulations. You're the unreasonable one, I hear.
Yeah.
My wife ordered a ring, but she didn't want the traditional